Hello Pisces, thank you for tuning into your general read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Modern Spellcaster's Tarot by Melanie Marquis, illustrated by Scott Murphy. For the supportive oracle cards, the Angel Answers Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine. Alright, we're already shuffled, so let's see. I'm not sure if we should do the bottom one. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. If it calls to us, we'll do it. Tell me, leave it as is. Okay. Now, alright, this time you do have an overall energy for your side of what's going on. Now, for this situation that we're going to start exploring here, you know where you stand. Excuse me. You know where you stand. And where else? Anything else? I feel like you know where you're standing. You're not budging from that very easily. Are you going to move? No. I'm getting you're not. You know where you stand, and you're standing strong in that spot. Now, the meditation brings answers right next to it is telling me you might want to look a little deeper on why you're holding so strong to where you are and how you feel. It's not that you're incorrect for doing so, but something else is left to be desired here. Like, I feel like you need to look a little deeper just to understand yourself a little more. Understand yourself a little more. What does that mean? As a Pisces myself, I'm like, what exactly are we saying here? They're telling me you have hurt feelings about something. And you might be masking them with just, like, standing your ground, but I feel like there's still some emotional damage left over in this situation. You might be trying to kind of skate by it. Kind of like, being a Pisces, I know that most of us anyway have this ability to go cold. Like, if something is just really too much, sometimes we're still involved, we're still participating, still consciously there, but emotionally we've shut down. And I'm getting that might be what's going on here. Because as I'm going in, this situation, this person you're dealing with, I feel like you don't really care for this person. And I'm getting there's pain in the past is why. The way you feel, where you're standing. I'm getting like, can this person still hold the same power they had over you in the past? Because if this is a situation where you might be considering forgiveness, the only way that's truly going to happen is if you can look in the past. How did this person hurt you? Do they have the ability to do that again? Are you afraid they're going to do that again? I feel like that'll really cinch this up a lot for you. Like, what did they do to you? Because I feel like that's why this person's here like this. Like, you don't like them. I just don't feel like... it's the Ten of Swords, so I'm getting this person hurt you in the past. But I'm also getting that you're not really feeling the devastation aspect of this. You're just connecting on the level of, like, I just don't like this person, and that's fine. I'm feeling like you might even walk by this person and pretend they weren't there. You know they're there, but you're not letting your emotions connect into what you feel for that person. I'm feeling whoever this person is, they just, as far as you're concerned, they did you wrong. But I'm getting like you should look at the past a little more. Can they still do they still have the position or the ability to do what they did to you in the past again? Because I'm getting this is one of those things when life comes up that we can actually clear away and just remove some of the clutter in our heart just to let it go. But it's going to hinge on, can this person do this again to you? I'm trying to move past it, and I feel like this is probably reminiscent of a few people who are going to experience whatever this person is, because I'm getting this person crosses your path for whatever reason, and you're just like, your first gut reaction is just like, I just don't like that person, and you try to move on from it. But I feel like there's a nagging, like, you know what, maybe there's something, maybe you need to talk, maybe something like that, just to clear out your emotional baggage, because these are things that weigh you down as life goes on. Even if they're not physically there, it's just one of those things that, like, it affects your future. It's like you can't, even though that person might not be right there all the time, they still damage your heart. They damage that light, airy feeling you can have. It's just clearing out some emotional baggage. Here's an opportunity to do so. Now, I'm getting this other person is very much who they were before is who they are now. I feel like it's the situation you gotta evaluate. Whatever that situation was. Because I'm getting for most of you, that situation, you're not connected with this person like that anymore. I'm getting this was a while back. However that means for you. I'm getting this person does not have that same connection with you as they did in the past. And they don't really have that possibility at the moment to do that to you again. Whatever it was that you feel, because I'm getting like you feel like you were done wrong. And you're seeing the same person in the past as right now. And I get that they are the same person. But it's understanding what happened and why. And maybe this is your time to get answers. Just for the sake of clearing out emotional baggage. Because what happens between the two of you is the Star card. I feel like this other person wants to clear up this emotional baggage too. This is not something that they easily have walked away from. I feel like this is something that they have feelings about as well. This may require a good conversation between the two of you so you both can move on from this in a healthy way. I'm not saying it's going to change how the two of you relate in the future in the sense of like buddy, whatever you want to say. But at least you can like look at each other and say hello and just kind of walk on like, yeah, it's fine. Instead of like having that instant reaction like, oh, I don't like that one. You know, it'll I feel like it'll just these are those things that add up and that make people sick. Because, like, you know, you get one after the other, and you have this whole bushel full of people you just don't really care for. But it's all these negative feelings are connected with things that people have done to you and how they've, you know, affected your life. And you're having a hard time. Like, I feel like, especially as a Pisces myself, I don't believe, at least I haven't been able to just be like, oh, I want to forgive somebody, so I'll just forgive them. I have to go through the thought. Why was I angry? You know, what did they do? Can they do it again? You know, can I afford to forgive them? Because if I, personally, when I forgive somebody, I leave myself open to a repeat of what they did before. So if they're no longer in a position to redo that to me, or I don't feel the fear, or I feel like at least next time if something did happen, I could handle it better, then I can offer that forgiveness and honesty. Instead of like, and I've done this in my past, I don't know how this hits with anybody else, but I'm in my 40s, and I've tried to forgive people and tried to convince myself, oh yeah, I'm over it. Until the right moment comes around and I'm just like, oh, I don't like you. Like, I could say it all I want, but deep down it's different. Like, it'll come forward. You know, there's a difference between trying to forgive somebody and, like, really, like, forgiving somebody. And you have to get into it to really forgive somebody. I feel like the people who are going to connect to this understand what I mean. Like, you just can't be like, oh, I'm just going to forgive them. Yeah, no, I don't. For a Pisces, I don't think it works that way. At least not for this Pisces, I'll be honest with you. Got to get in there in the motion. What did you do to hurt me? Do I feel you can do it again? Can I afford to forgive you in the sense of like you're not going to do it to me again? It takes that. Because I'm getting here the Two of Swords as you keep going forward. This person is the same person they were before. They are the same person now. They have the King of Pentacles, but I don't know if I showed it to you. You have the King of Swords. Yeah, I do think I showed it to you. So, you know, you're matched toe-to-toe here. Like, nobody's usurping anybody else's power. And you feel the way you feel about the situation. They feel about the situation the way they feel. I feel like it's not... here we go. It's more about talking out what happened and why. Which the why part, I feel like that's going to be dicey. I feel like if you just... here we go with it. Feel. Forever in my life, I tell you. Work out the semantics first. For example, I did this, you did that, do you agree? Like, just... simplify it, not about like, and this is what you did, and that I did this. Do you remember me doing this? Do you remember what you did? And like, if they say something that you don't agree with, like, this is what I remember. Like, just what actually happened, not about why or who or I did this and that made me do. You did that and that made me do this, and then I did that because you did this. And like, don't go that route. Just go like, I remember that I slid off the road and I cracked the rim of the car. And the other person can be like, yes, and I, didn't fix it because, and you could say, well, let's just agree on like what happened. You know what I mean? Just go through like the semantics first. And I feel like if you go through the semantics of what actually happened, then add in the emotion after, because I feel like the two of you aren't going to agree on the emotional part. But I feel like if you can get out the semantics, that can get to a point where you feel better in the sense of like, well, at least we agree on what actually happened, and then you can hear their feelings and not really agree with them, but still be at that point where, well, all right, yeah, I get that's where you were feeling that, but I don't know. I feel like if you just go through the semantics, that'll give you that resolution you're looking for, because I feel like there's a couple questions here about I did this, you did that, and if you can find out like what really happened behind the scenes, like how they were getting from point A to point B, I feel like that would really cut down on the stress here. I'm also they're telling me if you don't get too involved in sharing how you feel about each thing, just going through you're trying to remember what happened, like I said this and then you did that, and do you agree, because that's how I remember it, and they're like yes, and then say, well, I did this and then you did that, then you can agree about what actually happened rather than how I feel, you feel type things. I feel like this is not going to be easy, quite frankly. I'm getting like there's this weird conversation where each of you are going like how you feel and how each felt. Because I'm getting like there was anger between the two, and I'm getting there was only two. But there might have been people around each side, but it's more about the two of you, how the two of you interacted with each other. Excuse me. Now, just getting down the semantics of it. I don't know if I'm using the right word. I hope I am. Just like, the hard facts, just blocking it out. This happened here, this happened here, this happened here. Instead of like going into crazy, like I felt and then you did, and then be careful of that. Don't go too deep into the emotion part. I feel like they're not going to be able to do that as well as you are. Pisces thing going on there, but like I feel like if you just kind of like glaze over it and just keep going and try to get through the structure, so you both agree the structure of what happened, the emotions will fill in better later. Because I'm not getting this as one conversation. I'm getting this as more than one conversation. Because I feel like both sides, you and them, kind of want to put this to rest. I do feel like they have hard feelings too, but I feel like they do own some stuff that they're not comfortable with seeing. But I feel like if the conversation happens, they can own some of this too. This feels weird, I have to tell you. Because I'm getting this person feels like they had to do what they had to do. I almost feel like they're looking at it like they did what was right for the time, for what was happening around them. I'm not saying you're going to agree with that, but I'm getting that's the feeling on this side. Like, what was going on in their life, where the position was, how everything seemed to be coming down on them. They felt that they did what they were supposed to do. And I'm getting your side is like, well, what you were supposed to do and what were right sound like they were completely different things. Because I don't think what you did was the right thing. I don't think that was right. Because I'm getting that's the difference between the two. This person seems to feel like they did what, due to the situation, like it's like the semantics of the situation. I'm using that word a lot, I'm noticing. But it's because of the situation and how it happened at the time, they're feeling like they did what they had to do because of everything else going on around them. But I'm looking at it from the other side here, the Pisces side, and you're like, well, if that's the case, what you were supposed to do and what was the best thing to do, like what was the correct thing, the moral thing to do, were completely in two different places, because I don't agree that was fair. But this is where it gets really dicey. Because I'm getting, if you look really closely and you allow them to tell you what was going on around them, because I feel like that's the next question you might want to ask. Well, what was going on around you? Like, explain to me what was happening, like why this seemed like the right thing to do at the time. Like, tell me. And I'm getting that the meditation brings answers. I'm still not feeling you're feeling good about it. Here we go with the feel again. I don't think you're going to really like it, but it will offer you that insight to understand the why. I don't feel like it's about feeling good about it or being like, oh, okay, it was all right that you did that to me. Do. I don't think that's going to happen at all. But if you can at least understand the structure and like what was happening, why they felt that was the right thing to do, what pushed them in that direction, I feel that at least you'll get like at least more of a solid standing to have a little bit of understanding on how it happened. Not agreeing with it. Not saying you're going to agree with it, but just like, oh, all right, this marble hit that tack, and that tack hit that domino, and that. All right, I get that. Like I feel like you can look at this, and you'll be like, how this all, came down the way it did. It makes sense on the why and how this and how that. I don't think you're going to agree with it. You're not going to be like, well, then that was the best choice. I don't see that happening. But at least like, oh, well, all right, I see how this affected that, and that affected this, and this came around like this. All right, I see. That makes sense to me, and the why and all the other good stuff. Again, not liking it so much, but just kind of like, all right, yeah. I still don't think you're going to be like, well, if the situation played over, that would be fair. I don't think you'd say that. But I'm noticing the other side seems to be making progress. The other side seems to be kind of going through it. And I feel like this is the hard part that they're having. Because I think they know. Based on the situation at the time, they made certain decisions they thought were correct. But I feel like looking back in hindsight, they're like, well, I had to, like, it could have ended, I feel like it would have ended up the same way, but I'm feeling they could have made better decisions and still ended up the same way. If that makes sense. Like, whatever they did, for example, if you go back to that, you slid off the road, you broke the rim of the tire, and then they, instead of ignoring it, just like maybe whatever, they could have done something different instead of ignoring it, but still like I feel like it, for example, in this situation when I'm getting the rim broke on the car, I feel like it made the car unusable. I feel like they could have removed that tire or put it up on jacks so you wouldn't have tried to drove it after that. They could have done different things with the same outcome without you being shocked or like thinking something was fixed that wasn't. Is that all right? Because I'm getting like you would have ended up with the same resolution, the same end, but like the way it happened could have been more respectful. But instead, I feel like it worked out in a way that was more spiteful than respectful back when it happened. This is not an easy one. I mean, for a general read, I expected this to go a lot easier, I'll be honest with you. Now, I'm getting, like, as this is going forward, like, I do think it's more than one conversation. And I'm getting this card, the Five of Cups, because it starts off with, like, first you try to ignore that person. Well, I know, you're trying to shut off your emotions, but this is somebody who hurt you in the past. For some reason you have hope, but the two of you seem to have hope that, maybe we could solve this, maybe we could sort out this dirty laundry from the past, clear it out, get rid of it, file it, wash it, whatever needs to be done. It may be still stained after it's washed, but at least it'll be washed. You know what I mean? That type of feeling. You kind of come to a stalemate. You're both kind of working out the semantics. I don't know why I want to use that word so much, but I do. Just kind of like blocking out what actually happened rather than going into the feelings at first. I feel like that'll be easier. And then after you've blocked out, what actually happened, then going into the feelings. Of course, that's going to be necessary. But just if you block out what actually happened first, I feel like that'll give you both a better structure to work with here. Because you might have some confusion between the two of you about what actually happened based on what each of you is remembering the most. Now, again, I'm getting this as more than one conversation if this actually happens. because I feel like the two of you end up talking this out. You both feel kind of worn down, a little bit upset about the situation. I don't feel like at first you guys are seeing eye to eye at all. I feel like you're both kind of walking away, kind of questioning why you ever bothered. I'm getting that's the first thing. And then I'm noticing on the other side, because this person does seem to be making progress with the Knight of Pentacles, they have the Angel card, reconsider. I don't feel like they want to leave it this way. I feel like they prefer to try to see it from your angle rather than hold on to this. Because I feel like they're looking at this in the sense of like this seems to be holding them in a sense. Like it's one of their regrets, something they regret how it all played out. They just want to clear the air. And I feel like as they're walking away and they're thinking on it on their own, they're kind of mulling it over and they really want to clear the air. They really do. So they're doing their best to honestly see it from your perspective. And I feel like it may be the same situation in the sense of like they understand how you feel and why you feel the way you do. I'm not sure they're going to agree either. I feel like it's like the flip here. Like, I don't know if they're going to really agree either about, how it worked out, or I don't know. I'm getting like they're seeing your side and why you feel the way you feel, and they're understanding why you feel the way you feel. It's not about them agreeing with all of it around it, but understanding like this is how you got to where you are and why you feel the way you feel. And I'm getting that this seems to be actually bringing you both to recovery. That's when because I'm getting you both, like I'm getting you are doing that kind of like, I feel like you're doing it first. I don't know how that sounds, but I kind of do feel like you're doing that first. And I'm getting the other person needs some space, it needs to breathe. I'm getting a lot of Pentacle energy on the other side, which makes me feel like Earth is like, you don't move Earth quickly. You don't change Earth fast. It takes some time. They need to sit back, think it over for themselves, really go through it and decide what they feel. So while it doesn't move as fast as you do, not that you're moving extremely fast, but it seems to be like you're flowing with it a lot easier. I'm getting, even though it takes a little longer, you are getting an honest answer from this person because I do feel like they're acknowledging how you feel. Acknowledging. If I could not bite my tongue, that would be helpful. Are they going to acknowledge? Alright, maybe not. It's probably why I bit my tongue. There we go. Are they acknowledging it, or what are they? They seem to be apologizing in some sense. Is that true? No? What's going on here then? If they're not acknowledging and they're not apologizing, how is this ending up here? Because I don't feel like they're acknowledging everything. I don't understand, how do we get to this point without acknowledging, or they're talking it out again. And I feel like as you're going through this, I don't feel like they're acknowledging your side as much, but they seem to be apologizing for their side, or there seem to be, I just feel like there's something here, like, I don't know if it's really an apology or more of like, they'd rather it have gone differently. I feel like they're saying that. So I guess that's not really acknowledging how you feel, and it's not really apologizing. It's kind of like they're saying how they rather it would have went. So, okay. That's interesting. So I guess from your side, when they're saying they have a different version, they rather it went a different way, that's why you're feeling kind of like, that's good enough. Because you didn't expect this to get even this far. Because I feel like that's what they're doing. They're going through the past, and they're like, well, I wish it went this way. And I feel like that's how they're handling it. And I feel like when you're hearing this, you can agree with that. And I feel like you're kind of going into this, you're playing along with that in the sense of like, yeah, well, I wish it went this way, and like I feel like you can go along with that. It's not really a flat out apology. it's not really acknowledging how you feel, but I feel like they're just saying, I'd rather it went this way, this way, this way. And you're like, yeah, I wish it went this way, this way, this way. And this seems to clear the air. I'm still kind of like thrown to the side, like, yeah, that's not really an apology, and it's not really acknowledging your feelings, but it is saying, this could have gone better at least. I feel like this is enough to help you release those feelings and move on from it. And for example, instead of like your original reaction back here was like, oh, I don't like that one, and just kind of ignoring that they're even near you or whatever's happening. Now I feel like if the same thing happened, you could smile and say hello, but you don't feel like the same situation has a problem now. Like, I feel like you've kind of resolved those previously unresolved feelings enough to like you're fine with it. You weren't expecting the world, I don't feel anyway. So the fact that they said it that way, I feel like you're like, yeah, I'm flexible with it. That's fine. Whatever. I just feel like you're able to let go because it's some sort of an acknowledgement in a way, because like they're saying they'd rather have gone a different way, and you agreed rather it went a different way too. So I feel like that's kind of like it's good enough for you because you just want to resolve these feelings and let them go. You feel like you could say hello and continue walking like without animosity with this person, without you feeling animosity towards them or them feeling animosity towards you. The two of you can just coexist, probably not work together again, in my opinion, or whatever it was that happened together before. I don't know if that could really happen again, depending on what's going on with you, because who knows, maybe this is somebody you deal with all the time. But I feel like, it's at least to a point where you feel more comfortable, at least that situation from the past has moved on. Alright. That went on a lot longer than I expected to, I have to tell you. Alright. I'm going to wrap that up there. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a personal reading from me, shoot me an email, james4astral@gmail.com, james4astral@gmail.com. Thank you.